Lucy Connolly should be freed. Not tomorrow, not next month, not after some bureaucratic review. Now. Lucy Connolly is a 41-year-old childminder from Northampton. She's a wife. She's also a mother who lost her firstborn son, Harry, at just 19 months old due to poor NHS care.
Harry Connolly was a cheeky little boy. His family say up until April of last year he was a normal 19-month-old toddler. But after days of sickness and diarrhoea and with blood in his nappy, he was admitted to hospital. A 2-day inquest has heard how there were failings and opportunities were missed with regard to his care.
She was diagnosed with PTSD. She's never fully recovered. Who can ever really recover from the loss of a child? She's someone who's spent her life caring for other people's children, a pillar of the community, a person trusted in one of the most sensitive jobs imaginable. And what does the British state do in return? They've put her in a cage for 31 months, over 2.5 years.
The sentence on count 1, therefore, is one of 31 months imprisonment. You may go down.
For an ugly, emotional, spur-of-the-moment tweet. When the tragic Southport murders happened, when 3 young girls were butchered in cold blood.
No one wants to see what I've seen. Nobody. It was horrendous. And the poor kids, some of the girls that were on the floor in front of me didn't survive.
Lucy, like many of us, reacted with pain, anger and horror. I think that's a very human reaction. One tweet, rash, regrettable, emotional. The tweet came immediately after the atrocity. 3 innocent little girls, brutally murdered, the nation in shock.
It started like any normal day in the school holidays, but ended in horror and tragedy. 3 innocent young girls killed in a frenzied knife attack.
Just words. Words she deleted. Words she regretted. Lucy, who knows what it means to lose a child.
The hospital says lessons have been learned and changes have been made. But this family says it's too late and 3 opportunities to save their son were wasted.
Reacts not in violence, not in action, but in words. I grew up hearing, "It's a free country." You don't hear that anymore, do you? Because it's not. This is Britain now. Post-Christian, so no compassion, no mercy. Where your grief can get you locked up. Where one wrong sentence, typed in a moment of rage and despair, can cost you your freedom. We've all had dark, furious thoughts in moments of rage. And X? That's the digital public square. It's where people say the awful thing before they come to their senses. It's where we sometimes think aloud. Lucy did that. Then she came to her senses. She deleted it. End of story, right? Instead, the government made an example of her. They charged her with stirring up racial hatred. They denied her bail. They stuck her on remand as though she was a terrorist rather than a loving mother from the Midlands. They left her isolated, demoralised, with barely any access to her solicitor. And they knew exactly what would happen. She pled guilty, because pleading guilty was the only way she thought she'd be home by Christmas. Instead, she's still inside right now. Her daughter is 12. She's struggling at school. Her husband is ill. He's trying to cope, but he can't replicate the unique bond between mother and daughter. Lucy is a low risk to the community, a first-time offender, a respected childminder, a carer. She should be a textbook case for release on licence. But when her probation officer inquired, someone in the prison system said she wouldn't be getting out. Why? Because of press and public perception. So let me get this straight. She's not a threat, she's a mother, but the optics don't look good? This isn't justice, it's political punishment. And while Lucy, a mum with no record, was being held on remand for a tweet, what was the government doing? Letting out scumbags. Over 1,700 offenders released early because the prisons were too full. One of them assaulted a woman the same day he walked free. Others greeted with champagne at the prison gates like celebrities. And Starmer? "It makes me angry," he says. Angry? You just jailed a childminder for words, but violent criminals, out the door, popping corks, laughing about how soft the system is. And now let's get to something else. If Lucy had said the exact same thing in the United States, she would not be in prison. Why? Because the First Amendment protects speech, even speech that is offensive, even hateful, even vile, unless it meets this standard, that it's intended to incite imminent lawless action, and it's likely to produce such. Lucy's tweet? Emotional, offensive, but not directed at anyone specific. not a call to action, not likely to result in imminent violence. Protected speech, 100%. You don't have to like what was said. You just have to understand that protecting bad speech is what protects your speech too. Here, she was charged, prosecuted and sentenced because the government needed a scapegoat. Because Keir Starmer stood in front of the cameras and said, convictions will follow. Not trials, not truth. Convictions. That's not law, that's regime justice. And it gets worse. Judges were told to deny bail in Southport related cases. Why? Because the narrative was set. Starmer said the riots were caused by, wait for it, far-right outsiders, whipped up by online disinformation.
A response both to the immediate challenge, which is clearly driven by far-right hatred.
But most of those arrested? Locals, furious that their quiet provincial town had been bathed in infamy, despite it opening its arms to welcome these people from Rwanda. And let's not forget how the state handled Axel Radukubana. The Chief Constable of Merseyside Police described him as a Welshman.
A 17-year-old male from Banks in Lancashire, who is originally from Cardiff, has been arrested on suspicion of murder and attempted murder.
The media bent over backwards to humanise him, to blur his image, to soften the blow. A man accused of murdering 3 little girls, and the PR machine went to work protecting him. But Lucy Connolly, thrown to the wolves.
The sentence on count 1, therefore, is one of 31 months imprisonment.
Buried under the label of racist. This isn't just about one tweet or one trial. It's about a policy, a deliberate strategy by the British government to go nuclear on anyone who dares to get upset when an atrocity is committed by a migrant. They won't say it out loud, but their actions scream it. You can feel it in your bones, the unspoken rule. If a migrant does something unspeakable, you must shut up, mourn quietly, do not feel rage, do not feel grief, and for God's sake, don't you dare talk about it. It's not about public safety, it's about control. Let me be absolutely clear. Rioting is wrong, violence is wrong, I am the child of a migrant, racism is wrong, and locking people in cages for bad tweets, that's wrong. Keir Starmer and people like him see events like Southport or the Manchester Arena bombing not as national tragedies, but as PR disasters. They don't think like you, they don't feel like you. Their moral compass is so perversely broken that their first instinct when 3 girls are murdered isn't horror at the killer, it's suspicion of you and how to manage the PR. It's not, how could someone have done this to children? It's, this could mess up our plan to change the face of Britain. And that's why Lucy Connolly was caged, not for inciting anything. To send a message, pour encourager les autres. To say, this is what happens when you speak out. Shut your mouth, or you're next, for crudely expressing an anger that millions of decent people felt.
You may go down.